Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and here we break down complex issues around health, the climate crisis, and social justice through a vegan lens. We'll talk about the magic link between your well being and the planet's health, because luckily, choosing a healthier, mindful lifestyle for yourself often creates healthier vibes for our planet too. Staying consciously clueless means getting to show up knowing nothing, but staying open to all that you can learn. From feasting on plant-based meals and reducing waste to learning to meditate, every step you take contributes to your wellness and makes systematic change for the world. You can make a difference. This podcast will show you how. It's so nice to meet both of you. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for
I-
having us.
She took the words right out of my mouth. Thankfully, it wasn't while she was kissing me, because she is my daughter.
Okay, so let's at the top establish some voices, because it's not often I have more than one guest. So let's see who's
Okay.
talking here.
I'll speak first. Hello, I'm Gemini. I'm the mother, the matriarch, the old one. And here's my beautiful daughter, Myasma.
Yeah, I'm the other one that's not any of the above. Yeah,
Is that how you introduce yourself? I'm the other one.
pretty much. Yeah.
She usually says, I'm the errant daughter.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm going to start using
It's
that
very-
too. My mom will love that.
you should. It's very kind of Christian week, Saturday night live energy that I bring to the duo. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm already excited. It's been 38 seconds in the interview. But
Oh.
you are the vegan queens.
We
That is
are
how
indeed.
people know you. That is how people can find you. I would love to start with maybe half of that equation and talk about becoming drag queens, and then we'll get into the vegan stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to start, my glamorous mother?
Shall I? Shall I, darling?
Why not?
Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there was a gay little boy called Paul. And he was obsessed with people on the TV at the time, which would have been like Danny LaRue, Plug and Socket, and these fabulous, what I would call female impersonators. Anyway, 13 years old, get myself down to a local gay pub called the Clarence in Ashton under Lyne in Greater Manchester, and performed on their Sunday afternoon open stage set. Mimed Jazz Hot Baby from Victoria. Terribly, I might add. And then started on a bit of a drag journey. Now, we, as the Vegan Queens, were born in 2016 on a TV show in Manchester, hosted by my good friend Paul, who said, Gemini, would you and your daughter, Myasma, to come and host Pride special on the channel? Because Manchester Pride, which is one of the biggest prides in the world, was about to commence. This was a kind of talk show, and it was pretty much about everything that was going on in Manchester. And Gemini got her makeup out and smashed Miasma in the face a few times. And Gemini and Miasma and their incredible story of escaping from Putin, being chased by the KG, was born.
Wow. What question do I ask next?
Oh,
Yeah, we've lived a million lives across many a continent, and we chose to settle in the northwest of England because why wouldn't?
Sure. That's amazing that you had a performance for the first time at 13.
I know, right? And I have to say, all love to Joan, my very supportive mother, who was there with me and has been there with me every single step of the way. And she absolutely loves Gemini. Like Gemini's her daughter, Paul is her son.
How beautiful, and
Mhm.
especially given that this wasn't yesterday, that
No, let's be honest. My initial performance was, are you ready for this? I'm going to scare you now. 1983.
Hey,
Oh.
I wasn't born yet, but I'm sure
See?
it was a great year.
The great vintage.
That's incredible. And were you then brought in by Gemini into the drag scene?
Yeah, I mean, I've done little bits and pieces before, but not what I would describe as the drag that we do together, which I dare say is of a better quality than the stuff I'd done in the past. Yeah, it's a bit bumpy up and down. So my earliest drag would probably be as Michelle Pfeiffer reenacting Grease 2 when I was a child. Uh, it- that wasn't a paid performance. That was purely for drinks token. But no, I'm joking. And then I did a couple of bits and pieces there's a pub in Manchester called the Thompson Downs. I did a few things there, but it was never something that I was doing consciously with an idea towards an actual performance career there. And then Gemini, well, obviously she gave birth to me. And that's when I sort
That
of
means you're pretty close.
relatively close. Yeah, that umbilical cord's going to snip any day now. So that's when I started doing it. And I'm using quote marks here because I know that all drag is valid. But when I started doing it so properly as I would, yeah.
That's when we became us, isn't it? We both had separate and long journeys, and Gemini had done from the age of 13, pretty much drag constantly until about 3 years before Stuart and Paul met.
Okay.
And I just took a bit of a break from it. And then 2016, being best friends with Stuart and having this opportunity as the host of a TV show in Manchester, where the producer was like, do what you want. And I was like, oh, Gemini could make a comeback here. She's been quiet for a few years. And then it's like, Stuart, do you fancy? And Stuart, being the ever best friend, said, oh, why not? And we did a fantastic show. It was a 2-hour special. It's on our YouTube channel with the fabulous Lucy Lush and Cleo Lush, her 17-foot daughter. It's just not 17 foot. It's just when you see Lucy and Cleo together, the height difference is ridiculous. And we did this show. We had a real load of fun. It was just fun. And we celebrated pride and drag and trans people and life. 2 hours, and it was beautiful. And on the way back in that, Gemini had really taken hold. And I think there's a little reel on our channel actually from coming home in the car, and I'm filming out the window. And on the way home, I was just like, Stuart, would you like to do this permanently? Should we do an act? Shall we be the vegan queens moving forward? And she was like, yeah, let's.
Yeah.
And here we are. So it's been a beautiful journey. It really has. It's been gorgeous. It's been full of love. And I am, without getting emotional, very proud and privileged to do something I love with one of the people I love most in the world.
Mm.
Ditto, absolutely ditto. Yeah, and I think what's been gorgeous about it as well is as much as taking the drag away as well, it's been a great opportunity for us to really, well, let's cement what was already a beautifully strong friendship anyway. And that kind of rapport that we have together on stage, off stage, etc., just enriches like the work that we do even more. So yeah, just a gorgeous journey, really.
So you became this duo and you were like, there's no turning back. The world is better for it 8 years ago. And you were doing that. No, you said, do you want to do this permanently? Do you want to be the vegan queens? In 2016, you were already vegan and using that name, or what was that journey like?
Yeah, we introduced ourselves. Did we introduce ourselves as the vegan queens on the TV show? I think we didn't. We?
I think we did, yeah. It was something you said, oh, about vegan, let's just call ourselves that. And then we've not had a really long conversation about it, but we went with that for the TV show and then went, actually, it isn't what it says on the tin. So we decided to stick with it. Because I think for us, would you agree as well that actually a big part of our drag as well is it's also about entertainment, it's also about education as well, and sharing the kind of vegan message with the kind of campery that we do as well. But it's just, you coined it best, didn't it? We would describe what we do as dragtivism. Activism suffused with all the fabulousness of drag.
Yeah, that's it. On the nose.
That is something I was drawn into your content by. I know you've done some videos with Generation Vegan, and I was introduced to you through that and was so it just felt like a breath of fresh air to hear more and more people talk about these different levels of oppression and that connection to veganism and that connection to speciesism. And I just really appreciate that part of your message and how the way you deliver it. There's lots of different ways people want and will be receptive to hearing things, but your delivery plus that very real and very important information is like such a beautiful sweet spot.
I have to agree. Yeah. And I have to say as well, it was a real honor and a privilege for Gen V to ask us to do something. And because we'd always played on the side of caution, we've never not had a vegan message ever.
Mhm.
We've always done that. And we've got like lots of cooking videos on YouTube where and of course everything we cook is vegan, but we've always tried to play it on the camp side.
Right.
So not being too vegan. I know that sounds weird, but that was a kind of way to,
That's not the only piece.
yeah, it's a part of who we are.
Mhm.
So being asked to do this with Generation Vegan and having that kind of, this is what we're being asked to do, gives you a kind of freedom. And you know that the audience is largely vegan. And it was just a great chance to be the beautiful vegan queens we are, with vegan at the forefront, right at the very front, before the makeup, before the wig, before anything. It was the veganism. And I love everything we've done and I'm so proud that it's out there.
What was your personal journey or that impetus to becoming vegan for you, for each of you?
So I'll go to you because you're the instigator and then come back if that's okay. So I think, so we were both vegetarian. I've been vegetarian since I was about 14. How old were you when you don't have to say how old you were, obviously.
It was, for me, as Myasma says, we were both vegetarian anyway. And then a friend recommended a documentary called Vegucated,
Mhm.
which I still to this day think is a brilliant and beautiful piece of film. And I watched it and I loved watching the journey of these three people trying vegan and I loved seeing the impact and everything. Anyway, at the time I was and am again at the moment as Paul, a support worker. So I look after people with learning difficulties, mental health issues. And I was working with this guy and I was telling him about this documentary and he said, will you watch it again with me now? And I said, yeah, of course I will. Absolutely, of course I will. And it killed me. I don't know why it hadn't done the first time,
Mm,
but this second viewing, maybe it was because I was with someone who was vulnerable.
yeah.
I have no idea. But it absolutely brought me to the point where the guy that I was supporting paused it and said, are you all right to carry on? And I said, if you're okay with me like this, absolutely, please, let's continue. And I went home, asked Paul, and said to my husband, Jason, I cannot have dairy or eggs ever again. From this point forward, I can't do it. I can't do it because happy eggs on a box is BS. And it was like the first time I'd ever acknowledged, and I'm going to try and not get emotional here.
You're welcome. Emotional.
You have to, it breaks me when I think about it. You have to make her, a cow, pregnant and take her baby away to get milk. And I've seen videos now of them pining for each other and of mother cows chasing a truck with her baby on it down the road. And I'm like, I supported that for 20 years of my life as a vegetarian. What the hell was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. That was the problem. I wasn't thinking. I was happy to see happy eggs on the box. And I was happy to drink the milk. The cows ate grass and made milk, didn't they? Isn't that what happens? Yeah, it just all hit me hard. And my husband, Jason, was like, let's do it. And I phoned my friend Debbie and said, please come and pick up, because Quorn had egg in then. all quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
It was before they started to do anything vegan at all. And I just phoned my friend Debbie and I said, please come and pick up every vegetarian item of food I have in my house. You're welcome to it. I won't be eating any of it again. Went to Holland and Barrett the next day, did a shot, never looked back. Told Stuart and Myasma that story. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah. And yeah, mine is finding that momentous in some respects, because obviously that's really moving. And I know that Gemini was very moved when she was telling me, and obviously I'm listening to that. And I went, yeah, you're right. I'm going to do that as well. And it really is as simple as that, really. And I think credibly, the thinking that, if I'm honest, the thinking that you did then, I did later after having made the decision, which seems a bit strange. But I think, and then we talked about this a lot with Gen B as well, of some of the video clips and stuff. A lot of kind of my thinking over the years has been increasingly about that kind of, also my own journey with my queerness, with neurodiversity, with so on and so forth and stuff, and making those links as well. The kind of same thinking and reconfiguring happen, but at a slightly different stage, if that makes sense.
I think it does, and it highlights how influential having conversations with our friends and loved ones can be.
Yes, absolutely.
How much we trust the people in our lives that we have those relationships with. And if someone is genuinely saying, I've got to do this thing because XYZ, you're more likely to be like, whoa, maybe that's something I should pay attention to.
Yeah. In fact, you've just hit the nail on the head there, because my husband's parents, my husband's called Jason, his mum and dad, Rona and David, are now about 95% plant-based and have been for the last 2 years.
Wow.
And they're both hitting 80 hard, and they've made huge changes. And that's because they watch those vegan guys on YouTube all the time. And it's had an impact. I think that's because those guys and those girls talk now very openly about it, because you can't sugarcoat why we're doing this,
Right.
why we're vegan, because not only are 80 billion plus land animals slaughtered every year in the animal agriculture industry, that reaches just under 200,000 if you include sea life, living creatures, living, feeling creatures, all of them. Not only that, look what we're doing to the planet. And how much of that is due to animal agriculture. A lot of people argue about, the vegans and their avocados killing this planet. And it's like, the Amazon rainforests are being chopped down at a phenomenal rate to make grazing land for animal agriculture. Their nickname is the lungs of the planet. That's what they call the Amazon rainforest. And it's just, let's stop worrying about the occasional vegan having avocado on toast, because lots of meat eaters do too. It's a very common thing. And let's start talking about animal agriculture and the way that it's destroying this planet and the way that it has so many people hoodwinked. Red tractor. That means kind. And does the pig still get its throat slit? Then it's not kind, is it? I don't care if you gave them a hot bubble bath and a sandwich beforehand. The end result is still the same. This whole animal welfare thing that really hoodwinks people. Oh, the animals were treated well. If I give you a massage and then slit your throat, is that okay? Because I'll be nice first.
Yeah.
Like Gemini said on the Gen B thing, sorry, I'm getting a bit soapboxy. I'll stand back.
I asked you to be on the podcast and talk about veganism. Stay up on that box.
Myasma, jump in if there's some things. Save your mother.
No. Defending your mother blindly. No, I'm joking. No, but I think it highlights a really interesting point as well with that. And this is why you were talking earlier about you were happy to see happy eggs on the box, because we are happy to buy into statements that confirm things that we would already like to be true, which is a lovely example of a cognitive dissonance that is willfully encouraged as opposed to naturally occurring. And I think we see, again, we get doing the drag thing as well, we get a lot of, look, so the majority of people are very supportive and very receptive to the message. We do get the occasional hate comments as well, because as we know, the openly and visibly queer, gender non-conforming or a drag performer is increasingly becoming a very difficult position to occupy. Not everywhere, but there's a very vocal so-called minority who love to throw statements around that. And they do the same thing with that. This whole groomer rhetoric is a big thing now on social media as well. But again, that's the same thing as well, because it buys into an idea that people would like to be true, so they can discount what you do. So you have the same kind of thing. And again, it speaks to that intersectional approach, speciesism, and why, veganism is an ethical must, in my opinion. So there we go. We've both soapbox now. There we go.
Can I just say, though, because I do think this is rather wonderful, I have a tendency as an older woman to wear my breast on my arm. Sorry, my heart on my sleeve. And I take a long time to say things, and sometimes I ramble. But then my daughter comes in with a university education, I'm trying to think of where it was then, and uses some nice words to make it all small, compact, and very intelligent. And I think that's a lovely mix.
I think your rambling is lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
To dive into that and to keep you up on your boxes, I would love to hear a little bit more of that conversation around the connection you were making with homophobia and veganism and speciesism and that motivation for you.
Now, I'll just jump in here quick, Myasma, if you don't mind. But I'm going to leave you to do the whole intersectionality thing, because as a non-binary person who identifies as they, them, I'm talking to you directly, Myasma. I think you and your wordage can encapsulate that better than I can, and beautifully. What I'm going to do is just give you a little bit of backstory of why we are very passionate advocates of LGBTQIA plus life, culture, non-conformity, all of the above. If we rush back to 2010, Paul and Stuart, who are very dear friends of mine and Miasma's, we love them great, started a theatre company called Pink Triangle Theatre. And the aim of Pink Triangle Theatre was to tackle homophobia in schools and colleges and prisons and workplaces and all over. And they wrote this show one, along with Paul and Jason and Stuart's partner at the time, Tom, started this venture, and Pink Triangle Theatre grew quickly. And we performed in so many shows, and the incredible impact that piece of work had on young people. This was at the time when, oh, that's so gay was massive in schools. It's like everyone was saying it, and it was being used as a negative term. And we hit that hard, and we hit that running, and we had 10 beautiful years with this theatre company. And then, of course, when you start the vegan journey and you realize the oppression that animals are constantly under, with no voice, they can't speak. They need to have someone to speak for them, just like young LGBTQI plus people do. They need someone to speak for them too. They need, because they sometimes don't have a voice. They sometimes live with parents who are very religious or just unaccepting. And the link comes in there. And Miasma, you're on the...
You said it there. I really do think that. So, yeah, to build on that, I suppose that a lot of thinking that I do about it is about, and it is a little bit of a word that people parody you for using, but I'll use it for the sake of this. So a patriarchal system is only upheld by the practice of othering. It can't exist on its own. It has to exist in opposition to other things that are deemed less than, and which is where we get classism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, any other kind of othering and discrimination. misconception that we see out there. But the thing is, it's a really shaky concept as well. So to hold it, it has to be about putting other people down and keeping them on a kind of scale with a kind of idea of the optimal, which would be, I mean, I'm being hyperbolic here, be a straight, white, cis male of a certain income stream and so on and so forth. Yeah, but it's unstable, right? That idea of that, which very few people actually occupy that state, is the problem. But everybody holds it there because everything else is seen in relation to it. And I think we have the same thing with the animals as well. To oppress animals to the extent that we do means that we have to feel that we occupy a state above them, which is in direct correlation closer to that optimal idea. So it becomes easier, it becomes something that feels natural to do because that's pecking order. But once you start gender style pulling those things out and go, actually, okay, I'm working class, so I'm not here. I'm queer, so I'm not here. And this, that, the other, etc. Then you go, oh, actually, I'm not where I thought I was. And discrimination, this oppression is the same because it comes from and is maintained by the same thing. So now that's expressed differently. Obviously, people who experience racism, people who experience homophobia don't have exactly the same experience, but many of the root causes are the same. And so you see the same thing with speciesism as well, in that idea of greater than or less than. So that feels like it was really rambly, but I hope it's some kind of...
It was not rambly at all. It was beautifully put.
Okay.
And I think for those people listening that don't understand what the word speciesism is, let's talk about that for a second, because I'm just going to really simplify it. Speciesism is when you say that your cat and your dog are valid because they're your pet and you love them. But the chicken, the sheep, the pig, the cow, in some cases the horse, are not. So some people, they worship horses, other people eat them. The people who love them would be horrified by that. We as vegans are horrified by any sentient being having its life taken against its will for 30 seconds of pleasure on the tongue, which can be made vegan so easy. There you go. Nutshell that.
There is that crossover with racism as well, isn't it? You touching on different cultures, food and stuff like that. We hear a lot about, and a lot of scam as well, about dog meat and so on and so forth. In fact, there is a parody account on Twitter. It's genius piece of social media. Really, it's hilarious. All like horses, as you say and stuff, they are relative terms in what we see as companion species, like pets that we would put. And then that kind of the horror at that, which is expressed as a kind of cultural racism as well. But what we're saying is, but it's the same. It doesn't matter which animal it is, because you've decided this one is sacred and this one is basically chattel. That's not actually true. So I think there's a little interesting crossover there as well.
I'm just going to look for something very quickly on Facebook so that I can tell you the date of it, because I don't ever want anybody to think that I've ripped anyone else off or anything. But quite a few years ago, I wrote a little piece. Oh, here we go. 25th of January, 2016.
Oh, wow.
Paul wrote this little piece on Facebook, and it had 464 shares.
Damn.
Which was
an early influencer on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right.
Shall I read it very quickly? It's very short. This is how I wrote it. Dog milk. Dog milk. Apparently good for humans, this substance is now being produced in what I expect will be the first of many kennel farms. The first has only 300 bitches and one male dog they call the stud. Staff use this tool type thing to basically masturbate the dog and collect the sperm, sometimes daily. Then they stick a tool up the bitch's anus to stimulate the vagina whilst they artificially inseminate them one by one. Once pregnant, they're left to start producing the milk, which is taken as soon as it can be taken. When the puppies are born, they are taken away almost immediately, leaving the bitches and puppies in terrible distress. Still producing milk though, so it's all good. Male puppies are almost always immediately killed. A bullet or hammer to the head is quick and humane. Odd males are kept alive to become studs. Not many, though. Female puppies will be fed a substitute and will follow in their mother's footsteps. Mothers or bitches will be made to have up to 4 litters before they are humanely killed, often by throat slitting, for meat. Sick, isn't it? Wait, did I say dogs? I meant cows. Oops.
Oh, shit. Brava.
It was also shared on those vegan guys page and had over 1,000 shares on there as well. It was one of those things that sometimes Paul's head is so full of stuff. It has to be written down. And the best way to write it is creatively so that someone else can read it and maybe get to the end of it and think, wow, okay. And that was one of them. I'd been 2 years vegan, then went vegan in April 2014. So just 10 years now, just over 10 years.
I appreciate you sharing that piece. And I think that it's such a unique way to point out that cognitive dissonance, right? And
Yeah.
it in a way that makes you go, oh shit. Like you can't unhear it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you can't unthink it. You can't unknow it. That is one of those ones that hits you in a particular way. I think we should repost. We got to share that again.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to reshare it on those vegan guys page pretty much right now.
Yes, I love this.
You'll find it on those vegan guys page on Facebook, my love.
And I think another thing to keep talking about that intersection that I was curious about is that not only do you both have the audacity to live your full, beautiful lives as you are unabashedly as queer people in this world, but you're also doing that as vegans in this world. Two identities that people get pissed off about. I'm wondering what support or maybe reactions you've had from people in both of those fronts in your life that stick out to you.
Oh, that's a good question.
Eh.
Which would agree. I think the majority of people that we know have been incredibly supportive. Maybe more so for the drag than the vegan part, although I think it's generally receptive to the conversations that we have about veganism within our act. And even just having the kind of the name, the vegan queen on
Right.
people's lips as well. Sounds really stupid. It may not be a piece of vernacular that some people are used to even using, or even 10 years ago, people were still getting very confused between the idea of vegetarian and vegan and stuff, and then vegetarian, which is made up and doesn't exist. Sorry, anyone listening who is, but it's not real. But it's not a thing, babe. But yeah, for now, I think in terms of making that a part of, even amongst people we know who are either not vegan or are maybe trying it, or anecdotally, I know people now who maybe wouldn't identify as vegan or even plant-based, but are making choices in their life to avoid certain things. A lot of people I know are drinking plant milk, not because they've made that conscious decision to be vegan, but just because of the proximity to it and the amount of things that are available. And I'd like to think, obviously I don't know, that yeah, proximity to others has some effect in that way, even if it's just to be part of that conversation.
Right?
Yeah. Would you agree, love? How do you feel?
I feel, I have to be blatantly honest and say that I felt, as an LGBTQIA person, I felt pretty much supported and loved and nourished all of my life, but I've always been very careful about the people I surround myself with. Did my friend circle go smaller when I went vegan? Yes, it did. Was that a good thing? Yes, it was. Because as the stunning, wonderful, and unforgettable Maya Angelou said so eloquently, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And if my lifestyle choices regarding my sexuality were okay for you to still love me and want to be in my life as a friend, why would my choosing a more compassionate version of that exact lifestyle make any difference? And I think that's just because some people you can't handle the truth.
I was just going to say it makes them think too much.
Yes, and they can't handle that. So it's easy for them to label you as, I say this after I've just written out a very fierce piece I wrote, oh, duck milk, which was 2 years into veganism. But it wasn't like I was that person all the time.
Right.
Those were just these moments, just these moments. What I've always done as a vegan is share, oh, had this vegan pie last night. It was gorgeous. You can get it in Tesco for a couple of quid from the start, just to try and show people, look, there's things you can try. At least try something.
That's difficult, isn't it? As well, because a lot of the times these are people you love as well. And it's
Yeah.
really difficult to occupy that position where you have to stick by what you think ethically and morally, and you can be quite a bold statement, particularly if sometimes, and they don't do it so much now, but at the start of my vegan journey, as it were, what made you go vegan? And I have to assume that's a well-meaning question,
Right.
but then to have a really bold statement, which I love actually, because I'm a little bit of a troublemaker on the fly, because I will say I think it's morally wrong to consume animal products or thing, and that's a really bold thing to say as well.
People get nervous about morals and stuff. That word makes people uncomfy.
Absolutely, yeah. Particularly when it's close people to you as well, where you have to go, oh, we're actually having a moral or ethical differential now in a relationship that is really close. And I thought we agreed on a lot of things politically
Right.
and socially and so forth. So I find that really interesting. And then sometimes I will for that, and then sometimes I'll wuss out a little bit and I'll be a bit softer in the way I talk about it. Yeah, it's a funny one that I've not fully settled on exactly how I have those conversations with any consistency, if that makes sense. But having the conversation is useful anyway. As you said, love, about, oh, I tried this vegan pie, that's great. Keep it as a part of the kind of language and a fact that people think about when they think about, because it's a strong point of view that you have. It's the correct point of view, in my opinion, but it's like a defining thing.
I think I've been thinking about doing a video for socials around this idea lately because it's such a trend to be like, I'm like this, but I'm not like this. I'm not an angry vegan, or I'm not one of those soft vegans, or put in any word, not just within veganism. But for me, I don't know. Today I'm filled with gratitude and I'm so happy. And tomorrow I'm really pissed off and feeling pretty existential about the world because the world. And
Yeah, exactly.
period.
Have
But
you looked around lately?
if you opened your eyes, but I've been trying to think about how to poke at that idea because some days I am angry about anything and everything. And some days I want to meditate and take deep breaths and be filled with gratitude. And sometimes those things happen within the same day. So just being more open about like all of that shit is how I'm going to communicate it at some point.
Do you know what I did? I have to tell you this. This was today, just today. Today I was laughing hysterically in a cafe in my town centre with my work wife, Lauren, who's a beautiful person, and her work wife as well. We're work wives. So 2 hours later, I was in a funeral parlour with somebody that I support that is in those final stages of their life, making an appointment to go and plan his funeral. The same funeral parlour where Paul dressed his dad after he died and viewed him in his final resting place. And then coming home on the bus, there were all kinds of, and I think basically I cried on the bus on the way home. The reason I was sharing that story is that I am so grateful that I have the capacity to have all of these emotions in one day, that I can feel the things that need to be felt, because life needs to be felt. You can't make yourself numb to it or switch it off or turn your back to it, because then you become something you're not. All of us, every single one of us, is a beautiful, living, feeling creature. And that's what we have to remember, that just as we enjoy, as we can feel a touch on the arm and it's nice and it's gentle and it's delicate and it's even if it's a touch from ourselves, it's a human touch. The pig feels the same thing. So does the sheep, so does the cow, so does the chicken, so does some fish. seen that beautiful video of that guy in a river where he's picking up a fish and throwing it and it's coming back to him and jumping in his hands and he throws it again and it comes back to him. We are, all of us, the Earth's creatures, whether we be on 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 legs or no legs at all. We are all Earth's creatures, and all of these feelings we feel are beautiful and valid, and how lucky we are that we can feel them. Every day, even when crying, how lucky I am that I can feel sad, that I can really feel it and think, right, this thing that I'm sad about, is there anything that I can do to help that, to make that thing not a sad thing anymore? Yeah, I can be vegan. That's, sorry to keep bringing it back to that, but it's because I don't think about it every second of every day. Although I do, because I live as a vegan, but I still have to sit with people when they're eating pig sandwiches. In fact, I've had Paul pop down to see his mother earlier and smelled bacon in the house again, and had to have a word with her about not just, she already knows, I always say to her, I wonder what that one was called. Well, I wonder what their name was. I wonder whether they had a name. But tonight, again, reminding her that it's a top carcinogen. It's on the NHS website. All you've got to do is look. Meat, particularly red meat, which bacon is classed as, is a top carcinogen. That is having these. Mum knows that I love her and always will. She's my mother. But I can't stand what she eats.
Yeah.
And I can't stand the cognitive dissonance that she has. And I will always remind her, not only of the fact that she's eating a being, but the fact that she's eating a carcinogen.
Yeah, there's so many elements, right? That's why it's the circling back to it's all connected. Do you care about the rights of farmers and these workers and humans? Okay, veganism. Do you care about the environment? Okay. Do you care about your own health and the future of your body and our bodies and our collective health and being? Like that interconnectedness, the more you dive in, you're like, there's no way, there's no disconnection here. There's not one place of disconnection.
Yeah, you have to be able to occupy that kind of messy position as well, don't you? Where things do shift and change and your feelings and so on and so forth. And I think it can also be really difficult as well, particularly in the vegan movement and stuff, for people who are non-vegan who would love to catch you out on things as well. They love that. They love that because, again, to put back with what we're saying later, to live in a world where you can't understand why people would opt to be vegan, you have to be willing to deny very inconvenient truths, to coin a phrase. But to willfully deny them means that you have to try and catch other people out when you think they're being inconsistent in the way that they approach things. So I think in many ways, the kind of messiness of that feeling comes along with it almost, of going, relationships will be slightly strange and you're having to new that root friendship, the relationships with relatives and so on and so forth all the time, and how you're feeling about being vegan, whether you are thinking about it all day, every day. And so it's quite you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, I suppose, to sit in that place.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate the content and the vibes that you put into the world that is both from that place of activism and of education and also of joy and love. And you get to have fun and you get to laugh and you get to smile and have that full experience. It is inspiring and it is why I wanted to chat with you both. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Can I end with two quick things? Number
Yes.
one, I want to tell you that I am inspired by my love of pigeons and my horror every time I see a child running into a flock of pigeons and scaring them away with no parental intervention whatsoever. I have written a children's book called Penny the Pigeon Queen, which is about to be available in, I think, only UK bookshops, but it should be available in WH Smith's and Waterstones and name some others.
I need a copy. How do I get a copy?
I'm going to be announcing it on both Those Vegan Guys and the Vegan Queen socials when
Okay.
it's actually in the bookshops.
Okay.
But I also just wanted to say, as Gemini, I alluded to it earlier. Of course, I adore my daughter Myasma. She is my spiritual soulmate. And when we are on stage together, when we're singing and we're laughing and we're talking to the audience, there is so much joy in that. There's so much joy. It's one of the most wonderful, happy places that I, as Paul or Gemini, could be, because elements of Paul are always there, just as elements of Stuart are always there with Miasma. And if you ever get the chance to come and see us on stage somewhere, please do. I'm not sure when this podcast is released, Carly, but we are at Vegan Camp Out this year, so it might be after the fact. And I hope we had a good weekend, Miasma.
We're manifesting
we
now. You had a great weekend.
I've already seen. We had a ball. We had a ball. We were great.
It was the best. I heard it was the best.
Yeah, but if you ever get a chance to come and see us live on stage, please do. And please do check out our YouTube channel for comedy drag and dragtivism. And Carly, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
being
you.
here. This was such a delight. I have met so many people through this show in the UK that I need to meet in person someday. So I think I just need to do it and come see
Yeah.
a show.
Come on over, love.
Come for dinner with us. Come for dinner on the show.
Plenty of room over here.
If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode of Consciously Clueless. And for that, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, tag me when you share on social media, or share this episode with others who may be interested in the topic. Any sharing truly means the world to me. Join the community at patreon.com/consciouslycarly for bonus podcast content like smoke sessions with Consciously Cannabis guests, video versions of solo episodes, monthly live calls, one-to-one support, more lifestyle content, mindful